Hi, boys and girls. My name is Mrs. Pearson. I teach first grade at Barack Obama Elementary. I'm so excited to be teaching this lesson to you today. We're going to be doing a reading lesson, and in this lesson, you're going to learn how to ask and answer questions using a nonfiction text. Give me a second. I'm going to share my screen with you. First, let's read today's I can statements. I can ask and answer questions using the words who, what, when, where, why, and how when reading a nonfiction book. The other I can statement says, I can ask and answer questions before and during the book. So we are going to be asking and answering questions, and all of these questions are going to start with the words who, what, when, where, why, or how. We're also going to be practicing asking those questions before we start reading, and we're going to take little breaks while we're reading to ask more questions. What is a question? Do you know the answer to that? A question is a sentence that asks something. All of our questions today, again, are going to start with these words: who, when, how, why, what, or where. I like to call those the 5 W's. I keep this little hand picture. I took my hand and I traced around it, and I wrote those question words in my hand to help me remember to always use these questions when I'm reading. Do you see the words? And then I put the little how down at the bottom in my palm. You can make one of these at home too if you want. It's really fun to trace around your hand. It takes a little bit of practice. These are some examples of questions. Who lives in my house? There you see the word who. When? When did the toy break? How? How did the dog get a bone? Why? Why did the boy feel happy? What? What happened after I ate dinner? And where? Where is the ice cream? When should you ask and answer questions? Before reading, during reading, and after reading. Why should you ask and answer questions? Number 1, it will make you a super strong reader when you ask and answer questions. You're going to give your brain a workout and make it strong. Number 2, it will help you understand the book more deeply. You'll be thinking, wow, I get this. I learned so much new information. Number 3, it helps you focus on what you're reading. Sometimes when I'm reading, my mind will start to wander, but when you ask questions and answer questions, you can't rush. Number 4, most of the time when you ask a question, the answer will be inside the book. So it's like giving yourself a little quiz to see what you know and what you learned. The title of the book we're going to be reading today is Celebrating Holidays, Cinco de Mayo, and the author is Rachel Grauch. I found this book on getepic.com, so you can go on there and you can read this book, but there are so many great nonfiction books on there that you can read. The genre of this book is nonfiction. Do you know what that means, nonfiction? Nonfiction means that this book is filled with real facts. This book will have information that will help you learn about a topic. The topic of this book is a holiday called Cinco de Mayo, and the reason I picked this book is because it is a holiday that's celebrated this week. Did you know that? So I figured you could learn something. Maybe I could learn some new things about Cinco de Mayo. You're never too old to stop learning. What do you already know about Cinco de Mayo? Maybe you have a little bit of background information about it. Or maybe this is a new topic for you and you don't know anything about it, and that's okay too. What is your favorite holiday? Do you have one? Mine is probably Halloween. I love dressing up and I love eating candy. When you read a nonfiction book and you want to practice asking and answering questions, it's always a good idea to have a graphic organizer. I made one here on my computer, but you can also make one at home really easily. If you have a piece of construction paper or just regular paper, you can just fold it into 3 parts like this. When you open it up, you'll have 1, 2, 3 sections. And then at the top, you can just write before, during, and after. So you can put your questions that you have before you start reading right here in this column. And you can leave a little space after each question for your answer. So once you figure out the answer to your question, you can write it on your graphic organizer. Let's look at some of the questions that I wrote on my graphic organizer on the computer. The first question says, who celebrates Cinco de Mayo? The second one says, where is Cinco de Mayo celebrated? Number 3, why do people celebrate Cinco de Mayo? Number 4, how do people celebrate Cinco de Mayo? And the last question says, what is Cinco de Mayo? So I wrote 5 questions, which is a lot. You don't have to write 5 questions. You can think of maybe 1 or 2. Let's start reading. Okay, so before we start reading, like I said, it's always a good idea to ask questions. So you can look at the front cover and maybe think of some questions by looking at the photos on the front cover. Here I see a musical instrument of some kind, and I see a really cool red and gold big hat. When you open your front cover, you'll see a table of contents. The table of contents is a nonfiction text feature in a lot of nonfiction books. And on the table of contents, you'll see how many chapters are in the book, you'll see the names of the chapters, and you'll see the page numbers for each chapter. So today we will be reading the first 3 chapters of the book. Chapter 1 is called Cinco de Mayo is Here, and it's on page 4. Chapter 2 is called What is Cinco de Mayo? You guys, chapter 2 was one of my questions that I wrote. What is Cinco de Mayo? So I know I will find the answer to that question on page 6 in chapter 2. Chapter 3 is called Who Celebrates Cinco de Mayo? Oh my gosh, that's another question. Wow, it starts with the word who. So I know I'm going to find out who or the people that celebrate Cinco de Mayo in chapter 3, which is on page 8. So use the table of contents, use the pictures on the front cover to help you think of questions before you start reading. All right, now we're going to start reading chapter 1, and we can think of more questions to ask during our book. Chapter 1, Cinco de Mayo is Here. The mariachi band plays a folk song. I see here the words mariachi band and folk song are in boldface text, which means they're darker than the other words in the sentence. That means that they're special vocabulary words that are going to be in the back of the book on a page called the glossary. The glossary is going to tell us what those words mean. I have a question already while I'm reading this book, and my question is, what is a mariachi band? I don't know what that is, so I think that would be a good question to ask. I could stop reading my book, and I can write that question on my graphic organizer where it says during. What is a mariachi band? Let's flip to the back of the book and see what the answer to my question is. I want to know what a mariachi band is. So I'm going to click all the way to the back of the book. Let's see if I can skip ahead a little bit. And here is my glossary. You can see it right here. And then the purple words are those vocabulary words that were bold-faced in the text. I need to find the words mariachi band because that was part of my question. And if I go all the way down to the M, because this is an ABC order, I see mariachi band. Now here's the definition. A mariachi band is a group that plays Mexican music with trumpets, violins, and guitars. Those are 3 different types of musical instruments. So I think I found out the answer to my question. My question was, what is a mariachi band? And now I know that a mariachi band is a group that plays Mexican music, and they use instruments like trumpets, violins, and guitars. Let's go back to page 4 and keep reading. Dancers spin in colorful dresses. People fill plates with food. Cinco de Mayo is here. I wonder, I have another question. What kind of food do the people fill their plates with? So I could stop and write my question here on my graphic organizer. What kind of foods do they eat during Cinco de Mayo? Before we move on to the next page, let's stop and look at our photos or photographs from the book. Here I see a picture of a mariachi band. They're wearing really cool yellow costumes that are decorated. I see those musical instruments in their hands. It looks like they're singing into a microphone. They're wearing really big hats. That's really neat. I like these costumes. And over in this photograph, we see 2 women, and they have these beautiful, colorful dresses on, and it looks like they're doing some sort of a special dance. I wonder what kind of dance they're doing. All right, our next chapter is called, What is Cinco de Mayo? That was one of the questions that I had before I started reading the book. So I think that I'll be able to figure out the answer to that now. Cinco de Mayo honors the Battle of Puebla. The Mexican army won this battle against the French. So the French are people from France. They were fighting against the Mexican army, and the Mexican army won. So this holiday celebrates them winning their battle against the French. Over here on page 7, it says the holiday also celebrates Mexican heritage. So I think I know my answer to my question. What is Cinco de Mayo? Cinco de Mayo is a holiday that celebrates when the Mexican army won the battle against the French. And then the other answer is that it also celebrates Mexican heritage. So this question has 2 answers. There's 2 reasons why we celebrate Cinco de Mayo. This photo says that it is the site of the Battle of Puebla. Wow, you guys, this is a picture of where the French army and the Mexican army fought their battle and won. The Mexican army won here. So this is a site or a place where people can go to remember. Right here in this box, this is a nonfiction text feature that's telling us how to say or pronounce these Spanish words. These are all Spanish words. The first word says chalupas. Chalupas. Those are really yummy. They're kind of like donuts. They're long and skinny, and they're fried just like a donut, and then they're covered in cinnamon and sugar. They taste so good. Cinco de Mayo. So Cinco de Mayo, that's the holiday that we're reading about in this book. Fiesta. A fiesta is a party. Mariachi. Mariachi is that type of band that, remember we asked that question in the last chapter. So we know that a mariachi band is a group of people that sing and play music. Mole, Mole poblano, that's a type of Mexican food. I think we're going to be reading more about that later on in the book. And then our last word is Puebla. Okay, so chapter 3. Who celebrates Cinco de Mayo? That was another question that we asked before we read. So this chapter is going to tell us the answer to that question. Who are the people that celebrate Cinco de Mayo? People honor this day in Puebla, Mexico. In this photograph, I see a girl dressed in a really fancy, beautiful costume. And it says here in the little caption that this is a celebration in Puebla, Mexico. Other parts of Mexico also throw celebrations. Canada and the United States celebrate too. Oh my gosh, you guys, we live in the United States. So does that mean that people here in the United States celebrate Cinco de Mayo? Yeah, it does. Canada is the country directly north of the United States. So if you're looking on a map, Canada is the country right above us. In this photo, we can see that this is a celebration in New York City, which is a city here in the United States. So I see girls dressed in really fancy, beautiful costumes in New York. And I also see this girl here in Mexico celebrating. So the answer to this question, who celebrates? The answer is people in the United States, people in Mexico, and then the text also says people in, what's that name of that country that's right above us? Canada. And it looks like they're outside. Maybe there's like a parade. Maybe there's dancing. People are celebrating and having a really good time and honoring their culture. That is the answer to our question. So we read the first 3 chapters of the book. And we found out some really good answers. Now, we're going to continue this book another time. But I have a really great idea for you guys. Do you like arts and crafts like I do? I love them. I have a really fun Cinco de Mayo craft for you. I used some items that I had in my home, and I bet you have a lot of these items at home too. So I made a musical instrument called the maraca. You can shake it, and you can play it cool, makes a cool sound. So I took a toilet paper roll that I had at home. The toilet paper is all off, and I took some tape and I taped a piece of paper to the bottom of my toilet paper roll. Then I poured some rice and some beans into my toilet paper roll. This one has rice in it. You hear the sound it makes? And then this one, I made another one. This one has beans in it, like dried beans. So this one has dried rice. This one has dried beans. I had them in my pantry, and I took them out and I poured them inside the tubes. And then I took another piece of paper and I taped it on the top. So when I shake it, none of the rice or the beans come out of my toilet paper. We don't want to make a mess, do we? A little mess is okay, but a big one, I don't know. So I took my toilet paper roll and I poured in my rice and beans. Here is some white rice that I had in my pantry. I had some beans. So you can kind of experiment with different foods. You might have like little macaroni noodles that you make mac and cheese with. Any dried rice, noodle, or bean would work. Maybe you have beads. You can make a bunch of these, and the different materials inside the toilet paper roll will make different sounds. Listen. Do you hear the difference? Which one do you like better? You can do them both at the same time, have a little fun with it. Play a song, have some fun. So, this week is Teacher Appreciation Week. Did you know that? So it's a fun week where you can tell your teacher that you really appreciate them and miss them and thank them for all that they do. And so I had an idea for you that you can use to thank your teacher. I love music. I know all teachers love music. We love to listen to it, sing, dance, have a good time. So here's an idea. You can play a song and in the background, and then you can sing along with the song, you can dance. And then if you make a maraca, you can play along with the music, have some fun with it. Take a picture, take a video, send it to your teacher, tell them that you miss them and that you're thinking about them. I know they miss you and they love you. So that's an idea for you. Have some fun with it. And remember, I want you to practice reading nonfiction books and asking and answering questions about those books. So you can read about anything you want. You can read about animals, you can read about plants, you can read about holidays, you can read about people, you can find any nonfiction book that you want. I want you, before you start reading, I want you to write a couple questions that you can find the answers to during the book. Then, while you're reading the book, think of some more questions and put them here. Remember, all your questions need to start with those question words: who, when, where, what, why, and little baby how, as I call how, little baby how. So think of some questions that you can ask while you're reading a nonfiction book. Practice it, have fun with it, learn some new things. I had so much fun teaching you today. I can't wait to teach you again. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you later. Bye, guys.